Well, today we're going to make a round sign with a cactus. I haven't decided if it's a sunset or a sunrise behind it. Stay tuned and see how fun and easy this project is. Alright, so these are the pieces that you will get in the free pattern that you can download through my blog post. To get the free pattern, all you have to do is follow the link in the description box below the video to my blog post for this video. In there will be a download link for the pattern that I've created for you. It's completely free for you to download and use. You can make these to sell, you can give them away. Just don't sell or give away my pattern that I created, please, because I spend a lot of time on those. I really appreciate that you follow my rules. And this is probably the simplest one of these I've done, but I'm really excited about how this turned out. In the blog post, I will try to remember to talk to you about my inspiration and how I came up with this one. So this is super simple. We've basically got two pattern pieces, four of one and two of the other. We have some circles for the background, and then we just have our landscape with our cactus attached. So I'm going to put a piece of wax paper on my work tile. This just makes cleanup a little even faster for me because I can move this off to the side and not have to worry about having glue get all over everything on my table. I'm using a toothpick today because I tried to use my dotting tool like I've been using lately. It was just a little hard on these bigger circles. I did make the background on this bigger because I want this to be a definite focal piece in your dollhouse room. You could cut it smaller, of course. I didn't mention earlier the pattern. Like all the patterns I've created for you guys, there's two types of pattern available in that download. You have a PNG file that you can use with your electronic cutting machine, and then there's also a PDF file for hand cutting. And this one would be pretty easy to hand cut, I think, because there's not a lot of details. There's only a few pieces. There's also a little text file, note file thing in the download that will help you with sizing and whatnot for your Cricut or your Silhouette or whatever electronic cutting machine you use. So we're just going to glue these together. I do find it's best now when I use a medium weight white cardstock to cut my patterns out. I prefer to do that because once I get them glued together and painted, the color is a lot more color fast than if I was using colored cardstock. And also by painting that, once it's put together, it kind of helps to disguise the fact that you've made this out of layers of paper. It looks a little more realistic. And it's just a medium weight cardstock. So it's just that cheap stuff that you buy at the craft store where they have card makings and scrapbooking and stuff supplies. And I do find it's best to line up one pair, and then if you've got more than two layers on it, add the next layer and then the next, rather than trying to put them all together and then line them up. Now, this one, not so much. I want to make sure this is weighted down. I'm just going to leave this here. I'm going to put my ruler on, and then a bottle of Mod Podge, just to hold that a little bit more flat while it's drying. It will take a little bit longer to dry that way, but I find it doesn't warp as much. So when these are dry, I'll come back and we can start our painting process. All right, my glue is dry, and I have put a piece of tape here, sticky side up, tape down, and I did run this against my jeans to make sure that it was not going to be so sticky that my stuff wouldn't come off of it. Now I'm going to kind of line this up, lining up the bottom And then I'm going to set this on the tape that way. That gives me a line, and we'll see why in just a second. Then I'm going to put this one just over here because I'm going to do the edges first on that. So let's work on our sunset pattern. And I am going to turn my tray just at a little bit of an angle. And I've just got a plastic lid here. I've put out 4 drops of paint. I have Bright Blue by Apple Barrel. I have Vivid Orange from Folk Art. I have Daffodil Yellow from Anita's. And I have this Royal Fuchsia, which is a gorgeous kind of magenta-y color. And I'm going to use 4 brushes. Now, the reason I'm doing this instead of working out of the lids, I don't want to take a chance on contaminating my paint. And we're going to do a little bit of blending. Not a lot. This is not going to be a gradient, but it will be slightly blended. And there's always a chance when you're doing blending that you could end up getting paint on your, back into wherever your source of your paint is. Now, I'm going to run this piece of wax paper into here. That way I can clean up quicker because I'm actually working on multiple projects today. So I've got a brush, and I like a fluffy brush for this. So I pulled out some of my older brushes. I'm going to go right about where that tape is. This is why I lined that up. You want about half of this in yellow because a lot of that's going to be covered up with our landscape. Now, I'm going to go with the orange next. And these are pretty crappy brushes, but they were soft, and that's why I chose them. Now this magenta. And it doesn't have to be perfectly straight. And don't worry about your edges on this. At the end, we're going to come back and we're going to do our edges in black. Once everything's put together. And the very top, a little more blue than you've got the other colors. Now, I'm going to kind of go back and forth. Just kind of want... Now keep in mind, acrylic paints will dry slightly darker than they are when they're wet. So keep that in mind when you're choosing your colors. You might want to try this on a scrap of your paper while your glue is drying, just so you make sure you like the colors you've chosen. And the purple is going to make kind of a gross color with the orange, but I'm not going to, I just want to soften the edge a little bit. And then I'm going to go over that so I don't have too much of that transition color. Soften that edge, soften that edge, and now those will need to dry. Now I have some black paint. I actually want it. And this one we can just use out of the lid. I want to get the edges up on this part, so I'm going to go ahead and do the edges of just the cactus and the top of the landscaping right now. And then I'm going to put it on the tape. And if you're doing this and not on camera, don't do this directly over your piece you just spent all that time painting on. I just want to have it where you guys can see it. And because of the way I'm set up, that means directly over the other one. Now I do find that if I have this hanging off, oops, I'm trying to avoid getting black paint all over myself today. And I'm not worried about the round edge getting covered because that we will paint the same time we paint this, the edge on this one. There. Now our paint needs to dry, which since it's acrylic, it won't take very long. When the paint is dry, I'll come back and we can go on to our next step. All right, my paint has had time to dry. So now we are going to put glue on the back of our cactus piece. And then you want to try and get this so the cactus is standing straight up and down and your lines are going horizontal. And you want to line up this bottom edge. And don't worry about any little bits of glue. I will wipe away any large clumps, but little, you know, the little bit of glue that oozes out is fine because we are going to put a clear finish on this when it's all done. I'm going to let this glue dry, at least enough that this won't move around, and then we'll go on to the next step. All right, that glue is dry now, and I'm going to do the next step as it's totally an optional insurance policy step. And that is, I've got some matte Mod Podge here, and since everything is dry, I'm going to use the lid. And I'm not even going to coat the whole top. Mainly, I want to coat around these edges. It won't matter that this will show now, because we're going to coat the whole thing with a satin Mod Podge later. But I know that I'm a messy painter. And when I do this edge, if I come over the front, I want to be able to be sure I can wipe it off. And if I've got this matte Mod Podge on here, it seals the paint and it makes it so it's a lot easier to wipe off any mistakes. So I'm going to let this dry, and when this is completely dry, I'll come back. We'll put a black edge around our sign, and then we're almost done. So I'll be right back. All right, this Mod Podge has dried overnight, and I have a paper towel, a little bit of water right next to me. That way if I make any mistakes, sorry, it's very early in the morning. My voice is not woke up yet. And this is warped, even though I put it underneath the weight. I did kind of rush the drying. I did dry it with my heat gun a little bit because I was in a hurry. So it got crooked. So don't try to rush your drying time like I did. I will. And my hands are going to shake. Awesome. I won't make you watch me do this all the way around, but all right, there's a couple of messy spots. And I figured there would be, because I'm, like I said when I was doing the other, I'm not the neatest painter. Okay, I'm going to get the Q-tip instead. I think it'll work better. Okay. If you do it like I just did, you're still going to have to scrub at it, but it will come off the blue paint. There, because I had that sealed, it came off. So I'm going to continue around. I'm going to do it off camera so I don't get it all over the front. When that rim is dry, I'll come back and we'll put a clear finish on. So I'll be right back. All right, the black paint is dry. I have some satin Mod Podge here, and I'm going to coat the front and the edges with a coat of satin Mod Podge. Off camera, once this is dry, I will give the back a coat. And once that is dry, and I'm giving the back a coat, by the way. I don't know if I've covered this in last couple of signs. I coat the back because I usually use that blue sticky poster sticky stuff to stick these on the wall, and sometimes it peels off the back layer of paper when I take it off the dollhouse, and eventually that will damage it quite badly. So to preserve these and make them last longer, I go ahead and coat the back with Mod Podge to seal it, and then that sticky stuff doesn't damage it. So when this dries, we'll meet over at the dollhouse and we'll see how it looks on the front. See you there. All right, I've moved our sign to the front porch of the beachside bungalow. I love the bright colors on this, be sure and hop over to the blog post so that you can get the download for the pattern. And I'll try to remember to put tell you a little bit over there about my inspiration for this piece. But I'm really happy with how this came out. I hope you are too. If you enjoyed today's video, be sure and hit the like button. Leave me a comment. What kinds of things would you like to see in future tutorials? If you enjoy my content and haven't subscribed, I encourage you. Hit that subscription button and the notification bell so you know when I put up a new video. Be sure and share the video with your friends, and I will talk to you next time. Bye.